All right, my beautiful people. So today we are going to go through chapter 10 of our book, and that is Achieving World-Class Operation Management. These are some of the questions that we will answer. You can always take a look at them on your own time. So we're going to start off with production. Production involves turning various inputs, like natural resources, like human resources and capital, into outputs like products and services. So essentially, when we're looking at operation management, we are looking on focusing on management, managing this transformational process efficiently to ensure customer satisfaction. So really what you're looking is effective operation management that ensures that production processes meets the quality and are cost effective. So we're looking at quality standards, we're looking at something that is cost effective, and we're looking at something that aligns with customer needs. Now, operational management or operational managers, sorry, play a crucial role in overseeing the conversion process. So that means we are ensuring that the resources that we're getting are then transformed into outputs that are used with like production planning, that are controlled, and that have an improvement to them. And so we are looking at timelines are being met. We are looking that there's a planning process that determines everything is going against schedule. So essentially what production or operation managers do, they cooperate or coordinate activities like scheduling, like inventory management, and quality control to keep the production running as smoothly as it possibly can. So the core decisions in production operation for management include production planning. It also includes control and it includes improvement. So planning determines where, when, how production will take place. Control focuses on maintaining quality and efficiency in the process and in day-to-day operations. And it looks for continuous improvement in the process so that it gets better and better throughout the time. And our aim really here is to refine the method. We also want to reduce the cost and we want to enhance product quality. Now, these expansions, they provide, or what they do is to provide a deeper understanding of this process that kind of has to keep going. Okay, so that's what the managers do. So they look at this process, they have this deep understanding of it, and then they go and make it better and enhance it. Make sense? So you kind of see in this visual, or this is a visual of what we have. So you have the input, which takes things like natural resources, raw material, human resources, capital, and you put them into a process together. That's called the conversion process. So you take all of the resources that you have, whether it is natural resources, raw material, human resources, capital, and whatever, you put it all together, and then you have the output, which is product and or services. Okay, so what are you producing as a result of it? So what is production planning? Well, it is a strategic approach or a process that helps companies aligns their production activities with their long-term goals. It really just involves determining what to produce, how much of it you are going to produce, and where and when you are going to produce it. Now, this planning is divided into 3 phases. What you have is long-term planning, mid-term planning, and short-term planning. Short-term planning, essentially, we're going to start off with long-term planning, which is spanning 3 to 5 years. So you're planning ahead for 3 to 5 years, and you're focusing on the overall production goals and the major investment. Then we get into medium-term planning, which really is just covering about 2 years. And so we're addressing specific aspects like factory layouts, resource allocation, and workforce planning. And this phase, what it does is that ensures that production setup can meet forecasted demands. With short-term planning, we are looking at something a little bit less. So 1 year, maybe a little bit less than a year. And within that, you are looking at strategic goals or turning those strategic goals that you've created into actionable items. So you're taking these things and putting them on the ground. Boots on the ground, what can actually be done and how can it be done together, okay? Essentially, effective production planning involves enables companies to actually use their resources in an optimized way. It enables them to minimize the cost and ensure that the production is aligned with the market demand. So you don't want to overproduce for the market. You also don't want to underproduce. So you want to understand it correctly and what's actually happening and going. So it helps managers anticipate potential challenges and adjusts strategies to maintain strategic flow of that operation. As we were saying earlier, the production process takes it takes the resources and it turns them into the finished product, which is the goods or the services. Now, the process starts with something called production planning. Which is where managers decide the type of production process that's going to happen. You have things like mass production, mass customization, or essentially customization. And those align with the customer's demands and the business goals. So depending on what it is that you're trying to do. If you have a company that engraves glass, that's customizable, okay? You can have a mass customization where things say "Be Mine" or "Lovebirds," or you have "Bound Love Forever," right? These are things that you can use for any wedding. But then you have George and Grace, 7/5/2026. Okay, that's customizable. So it depends on the kind of business. Whereas you can buy your water cooler or water bottle from Costco, and everyone will have almost the same identical bottle, right? Okay. So mass production is efficient for manufacturing large quantities or identical items, and it minimizes production costs through scale. If the overhead is the same, if the cost of running the machine is the same, if you produce 10 or you produce 200, well, no, you'd want to produce the 200 so that you can use that machine to its full capacity, so that you can utilize the overhead. And as you scale upwards, the cost per bottle decreases. Does that make sense? So in that, it offers little flexibility and adapting for individual customer needs. So mass customization bridges that gap. Okay, so using standardized production methods to create customizable product, providing a balance between cost efficiency and personalization. Maybe you have, I don't know, like pillowcases that are printed in a particular way or something for a birthday party or whatever. You can mass customize in that sense. Whereas customization focuses on producing one-of-a-kind item that's tailored to a specific customer request. And so this product is suitable for industries like custom furniture manufacturing or specialty printing services where clients seek a unique output that's very specific to them, okay? So again, these are the different classifications of production type, which we were just talking about, but kind of put visually. You have the mass productions, the mass customization, and then customization. So again, production types vary. Mass customization combines the benefit of mass productions like flexibility and customization together. It allows companies to produce standardized components while adding unique features as well, whereas customization, it is very specific. So for example, you can do mass customization in Dell computers, homes, tailor-made golf clubs, apparently, okay? As an example, but customization, haircuts, right? It's very specific. That's a service that's very customizable to you, okay? I can get the same haircut as the next person next to me, but it's not going to be the same. My hair type is different. My hair quality is different. What I seek in the out product is different as well. Okay. So production process usually involves converting inputs, so things like material, human resources, and capital, into a finished product or a service. There are two main processes for this conversion process. So processing, process manufacturing and assembly process. In the process manufacturing, you take raw materials and they are transformed into the finished products through chemical, thermal, or mechanical processes as well. So for example, if you're extracting aluminum from something, that would be a chemical process that you're doing, okay, and a thermal process that you're doing, okay? So you're taking a process, you're taking raw material, you're turning that raw material into something via chemical, thermal, or mechanical process. The assembly process, what it does is that combines components to create the final product. So this is usually used in cars where various parts are put together to build that vehicle. Okay, so the choice between these processes depends on the nature of the product and the company's production capabilities. Another thing that we have is production timing. So the process combines components to create the final product. How long does it take? Okay, so this is, a continuous process operates without interruption. So this is ideal for industries like energy production where shutdowns are costly. You want something that generates electricity constantly. You do not want electricity to stop, which means that the production process has to keep going continuously, okay? We don't think of electricity as something, right, tangible or a product or a service, but it is. It is very much of a service that we have, and it is very much something that is constant. The other aspect of it is the intermittent process, which is shorter production runs, adjusting machines to create different products based on demand. And this is good where jobs are customized, products are produced. So you can use the same machine to produce, I don't know, plates and mugs. I don't know if that's the case, but if you use the same machine to produce those, then you would stop the production once you hit whatever 1,000 mugs, and then you would change to producing the cups, to the plates. Okay. So this is how, this is a nice little visual for us. When you have airlines, you have the input that you have are pilots, flight attendants, reservation system, ticketing agents, customers, airplanes, maintenance crew, ground facilities. All of these are put together through a process, and that process produces the movement of customer and freight, okay? Grocery stores, you have merchandise, building, clerk, supervisors, store, furniture, fixtures, shopping carts, customers. Again, all of these combined together, what do they give you? Groceries for customers. Does that make sense? So you take something, you take all the resources that you need, you put them through a process. A process doesn't have to be a machine, right? A process is built on the way we operate. And this is, in this way we operate, we're going to put the flight attendants here, we're going to put the pilots here. Without them, we cannot get from point A to point B. Without them, we don't have a pleasant flight. Without them, there's no needs that are being met. And so we do that along with the crew, along with the whatever, mechanics, whatever it is. And that process together allows you to fly. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So choosing the right location for the production facility is a strategic decision that can impact the cost, efficiency, and the customer satisfaction. So key factors here to consider includes availability of production input, things like raw material, equipment, and skilled laborers. You're going to consider all of these things to be able to produce what you're going to produce. Proximity to the resources, which can reduce production costs or transportation cost and ensure timely deliveries. This is why now you see all these Amazon warehouses show up, right? We want to be in closer proximity to the customers so that we can offer 2-day deliveries to everyone that's around. Yeah, or so that there are facilities that accept these shipments as they go overnight and they go quickly. Make sense? So marketing factors also influences location choice. So as businesses need access, as businesses need to assess how well a location allows them to serve their customer and how much revenue it brings in. This is why when you're opening a franchise, for example, like Subways, they have to be a mile away from each other so that they're not competitors. Okay. And then sometimes you have to pay more rent even if it's the same amount of business, right? Maybe you're opening a Subway inside the mall versus a Subway that's outside. So it could be more depending on that location that's there. And so you're looking to serve the customer's need. It also involves considering access to material and ease of distribution and the presence of a target customer base. A well-chosen location can enhance the customer's reach and it reduces delivery times. Sorry. Another thing that you can look at is the manufacturing environment, which includes availability of suppliers, infrastructure, and transportation network. You go to Bakersfield and you don't find a lot of restaurants, right? There's only far and few in between. Why? Because there's no ease to getting there. Sorry. Right. And then when you're expanding internationally, you are locally first. You have things like tax breaks or grants that can help you further influence the location decisions by offsetting startup cost. So maybe there's an underdeveloped area that needs to grow. And as this underdeveloped area grows, you have, they may give you a tax break, right? Which then says, okay, well, I'm willing to add an hour of my drive or do that for the sake of the grant. It helps me start, sorry, there's a billion messages that are coming in. It helps me start my business a lot easier. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? How are we feeling? All are good? I'm that great of a teacher? Thanks. It's either that or you guys are falling asleep. Yeah, go ahead.
Slightly.
Yeah, go for it.
What's the incentive to actually make a good product? For example, if my light bulb lasts 20 years, that means for 20 years that customer is not returning. Whereas if I made one that lasts 2 years, then they have to buy 10 light bulbs in the same amount of time.
It would depend on the cost of the product that you're making and maybe other products that you're selling. That's what I would say. So let's say you're not just selling light bulbs, you are selling fridges and you're selling electronics and you're selling whatever, right? Because that's usually the case. You're not just having one. And so if like, okay, well, no, this fridge is lasting me, it's been there for like a good 15, 20 years, then next time I'm gonna go invest even 2-3 years into the product cycle, then I'm like, okay, I'll invest in that.
Technology, the things also get as in outdated.
Yeah.
There's innovation as well to get newer versions of mobile phones or
Yeah. And you can cross-sell and you can upsell as well, right? So you know that they're not returning for 20 years, but 15 years into it, maybe you start recontacting, or maybe you keep that relationship alive somehow, or you offer other things, or you offer, and now that we have technology as our fingerprint, there's a lot of emails, right? You get emails from, I don't know, God knows what company, and you're like, how and why are you sending me an email, saying happy birthday? Right? So these things make it feel more personal. And so that's incentives, I guess. Okay. Customer loyalty, you're upselling another item, you're cross-selling something else. All of these make a difference. Okay. So determining a production facility involves selecting the most efficient layout to support that production process that you have. And the goal is to ensure smooth workflow, it's to reduce bottleneck and to optimize space utilization, right? So you want everything that you're doing, you want it to be as optimized as possible to increase efficiency and produce better results. So a process layout is effective for custom products and allow flexibility since machine and workers can be adjusted based on a specific task. So what you want to do is you want to be able to move things around so that they are a better, there's a better movement in the process. Make sense? So we're looking at different types of positioning. So you've got product layouts, which are efficient for high volume manufacturing. So the product moves down the line in sequential steps, which minimizes the time required for transportation between stages. Okay, so that it just moves from one place to another. Fixed position layout are best for large scale projects like shipbuilding or construction, where products stay stationary and workers and equipment move around it because you're building a bigger product. And as you're building that bigger product, people are moving. It's not because it's very heavy and it's very costly to move that product around. Make sense? Questions? Okay, so you could kind of see it here. These are the different types of layout. We have facility layouts, which again, it refers to the arrangement of resources within a manufacturing plant to ensure that there's efficiency in the production flow. You have a process layout group where similar things are grouped together. And it's good ideal for custom made products like kitchen cabinets, where tasks such as cutting and finishing and all that are organized based on the product. So they are based on the task. So it goes together, right? You're grouping it based on tasks. And then you have a product layout, which is like the flat screen television. You focus on the flow of the material. And so this is really good for mass productions of identical product. And it's just like you do this first, then that, right? So assemble chassis, then install circuit boards, then install flat screen and install speakers, final assembly, inspect, buy, whatever, right? And so you see it has to go through a sequential process so that you can build the product. And then finally you have where the product is fixed and everything else is revolving around the product. So materials and workers are brought from construction site to the construction site rather than moving the product down the production line. Okay, so if you look at the flat screen TV one, you're kind of moving the product from one place to another. Okay, even the first one as well, you are moving things from one place to another. So that brings us to resource planning. Now, resource planning is a crucial step in production, which involves determining the raw materials, parts, and components that are needed to create the finished good or service, right? So it requires analyzing what resources are required, when they are needed, and how will they be sourced, okay? Where do they come from, okay? So this process, it ensures that the company can meet the production demand without facing shortages or overstock. And we're leading to optimized operation and minimized costs. So here we are looking at two choices. Do I want to make this or do I want to buy it? As a company, do I want to make this needed part or do I buy it from another company? So is this an internal process or is it an external supplier? And these decisions are often known as outsourcing. Sorry. Okay. So these decisions are often known as outsourcing, and essentially you are, the whole point of outsourcing is that it can reduce cost and free up internal resources. But the drawback here is that it might slow down the process. Okay, so you're making the process a little bit slower because you're relying on another company to go and do that. And then it might make the process a little slower because you don't know what's going on there. So maybe there is tariffs now that are higher. We're like, okay, well, this is going to be harder, or there is an emergency that happens in that country and you're like, okay, so I don't know what to do, and so forth. Okay. Make sense? Now, manufacturing companies increasingly rely on a computerized resource planning system to manage their operations. You're looking at material requirement planning, and this is a system and it uses master schedule to ensure the right material and components are available when they are needed. And the MRP allows manufacturers to plan production runs, minimize access to inventory, and improve efficiency. And what you're looking as is just basically the process. So you're using technology to help you create a process that flows quickly and easily. Now, the other thing is manufacturing resource planning 2, MRP2, and that was developed to expand the scope of MRP. And what it does is that it integrates data from multiple departments. So you're looking at finance, you're looking at marketing, you're looking at engineering, and all this data is coming together so that you can see it there as a resource manager, and it's producing something that is a lot more data-driven. And we talk about data-driven all the time now in today's world, but it really is analyzing and understanding data is a very big deal. Now, the next one is enterprise resource planning. And that takes it a little bit further by linking companies' internal resources with external relationships, such as suppliers and customers. So you're essentially taking everything and putting it in one system so that it's easy to monitor and easy to change. So ERP provide real-time data, and it enables businesses to respond quickly to changes. So what is actually happening? You can look at things like a YouTube dashboard. Let's say you're a content creator and you have a YouTube dashboard. That YouTube dashboard has a lot of real-time data, and it has a bit of previous data as well. Okay, so you're looking at like how many people are watching live. That's current data that they're collecting on people. That way you can see the trends. Is there trends in the hours of when I'm posting and people are watching? Are there certain videos that are doing and performing better than others? And so forth. Does that make sense? So you can see that real-time data in one place. You can see that on your Instagram, whatever the case is. Instagram, not so much real-time data as it is with Google and YouTube, and you have things like that. But that's just an example that I think a lot of you have seen before, maybe, or maybe not, I don't know. But that's accessible. So if you have a YouTube channel, you can go and you can kind of see there. All right. So the supply chain is an intricate network that encompasses the entire product journey, from raw material acquisition to delivering the final product to the customer. So what you're doing is that each link in the chain, things like suppliers, you're looking at the process, the production process, transportation with a P, not an F, the transportation process. All of it is linked together, and as it's linked together, you have what is called the supply chain, and it's really, really important to maintain the flow of that supply chain so that you can deliver it accurately and so forth. So a single weak link in that supply chain can delay the transportation process and getting it from your company to the customer severely, and you don't want shortage. So if you're looking at shortage of raw material, for example, that can block your process. If you are looking at a storm in the Midwest and you're trying to get it across the country, that can delay the process. So does that make sense? So these are all things that are happening within the supply chain process that we need to make sure that we focus on. And so supply chain management, it focuses on optimizing these links so that they are the best, or there's a seamless workflow. And it involves strategies like just-in-time delivery, strategic partnership with suppliers, and efficient inventory management to ensure that everything is going as it should and it's running as properly as it should. Make sense? Questions so far? How do we feel? Feeling okay? Yeah? Now, scheduling, cornerstone. It's such a big deal within supply chain. It's such an incredible big deal. It really is the cornerstone of project management. And the idea is to ensure that resources and time are optimally used. So scheduling involves creating timetables for various production steps. It involves aligning them to ensure that material, equipment, and labor are available precisely when they are needed. Okay, so you need to have these when they are needed. It's so crucial. Some of these tools that you can use are things like knot charts, which are visual representation. I think we have some. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to talk about them. Knot charts, which are visual representation of task timelines and overlaps. You're looking at maybe the critical path method, and that identifies crucial tasks and directly influences the project's timeline. And we'll talk about a few of these in a minute. Then you also have the product, so the program evaluation and review techniques, which adds another dimension to scheduling by incorporating time estimates, optimistic, probable, and pessimistic. So there are different types of these. Now, again, you want to plan for a delay, but you have things like Amazon that's doing 2-day shipping. So with that 2-day shipping, you're like, okay, as they did that, did they anticipate delays? Did they open it to smaller parts of the country and then open it to bigger part of the country once they got the kinks out of it? You know what I mean? And so that would be, you're able to say, okay, well, we're evaluating the process, we're figuring out what's going on, and we are doing it accurately. So what this does is it allows managers to anticipate potential delays and plan for uncertainty. Now, these tools, project managers, they can map out the entire process. That's the whole point, is to be able to visually see, okay, when does this due? How are we going to deliver it? And so forth. Does that make sense to everybody? We're doing okay? You're still alive? Look alive, people. Look alive. Look alive. All right. This is the knot chart, and it's really good for visualization of the timeline. And so you're tracking the progress over time, and it breaks down of various activities, including projects, for the projects such as scheduling, design, ordering, material, things are being met, where are we? Time, for example, time is not available because of machine maintenance and so forth. And so we're looking at everything as a timetable and as time advances as well. So for example, in manufacturing activities or in manufacturing settings, there are sometimes activities that are designed to run simultaneously, like ordering material, ensuring that different stages are aligned to avoid delays, and so forth. So what the knot chart does is that it uses symbols to represent stages like review dates, or periods where time is not available, potential delays, potential schedules, and so forth. The idea is really visual representation goes such a long way for everyone involved, because reading text, let's just face it, it's not everybody's favorite time pass activity, okay? Especially when you're on the run and you have to do so many things. And so these are things that project managers try to do. Another example is the critical path method, which we mentioned earlier. And this is a project management tool that allows for efficient scheduling of series of tasks. So for example, when you're building a house, there are certain things that need to happen. So CPM highlights the longest sequence of activities that must be completed for the project to be finished on time. That's the longest sequence. And then it adds layers to it. What has to go on top between which things so that the house can be built on time. So you're looking at, you start, you have the foundation complete, and as you have the foundation complete, what else do you need? The next thing over is cabinet and wall complete. But before you get the cabinet and the wall complete, you have to complete the plumbing, and at the same time, you have to complete the electrical wiring before you finish the walls and before you finish the cabinets. Does that make sense? Okay. And then you move on. And once that is done, you need the interior planning to be complete, which applies installation, carpet installations, and so forth. And again, as you're doing that, as your frame complete, you have the sliding complete, then roofing complete. You can do these things multiple times that don't necessarily link to the other ones as well. So meanwhile, you do the main things, you can also do secondary things. And this is just a visual of how all of these things are working together. So it overlays the first one, it all overlays the main ideas, and then it adds to it. Cool? How we doing? So yes, each task is assigned a duration, such as frame time complete. So you can see like the 5, the 7, the 15, and so forth. And knowing that which activity depends on the other enables the project managers to allocate resources more effectively. And that prevents bottleneck, which is kind of like you're stopping a lot, and ensures a smooth process. And that's really what we want to get to. All right, so you've seen these A, B, C's. Hopefully you haven't seen a lot of B's and C's lately. But if you're going to a restaurant and you walk in and they have it posted on the wall or they have it posted at the door. Sorry, this is the grading system, and this is an example of quality control. So quality control in restaurant is highly linked to health department grading system. So restaurant grades serves as an indication of its adherence to food safety and cleanliness standards. And that can change your perception of the restaurant. If you walk in and you see a C, you probably march right out, right? And so these are the things that you have to be aware of when we're talking about quality in the production process. What are the standards that are there? How can I raise those standards? How can I get the highest ones so that I can compete in a market that's good for me? So part of, maybe as to go back to your question, part of creating a good quality product is because of the customer perception of your brand and their willingness to actually invest in it as well. So choosing where to dine often comes down to trust, and seeing the high grades can influence the customer's decision to feel safe or not safe, right? So the C would be very much of a deterrent. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll be back for this one. Have you guys seen the hospital grades before? So hospitals also have grades. And essentially it could tell you like this hospital, would tell you which one are the best. So you can, let's do by zip code. What's the zip code here? Does anyone know? 91799. 09. So the closest one, you got Chino Valley Medical Center, top notch. You can see the full score. You see Eye Health, Placenta Linda, not doing great. Wow, we have pretty good hospitals out here. Look at that. San Antonio not doing so great. Chapman is not doing so great, right? And so if you click on it, you can see why it's doing great. So for example, with infections, they're okay. Here, they don't even, it's not available, okay? Dangerous object left in patient's body, they're doing good, thank God, right? Okay, surgical wound split open, they're fair. Okay, some safety problems, they're doing good for the most part, right? So you can go in and see before you decide which hospital that you want to go to, which is kind of pretty cool. Let's see USC Health, UCI Health, sorry. Blood leakage, that's a problem. During surgery, they may leak excess blood. How is this? Why? Okay, so you guys get the point. So that can determine which, if you can choose which hospital to go to, that determines like, oh, okay, no, they seem to be having a problem about communication and discharge, which is not necessarily a medical problem, but whatever. Okay, hand washing, that's an issue, right? Right, I don't know who's not washing their hands, but it's a hospital. Y'all need to wash your hands. Okay, so here you can see the effect of the grading system as well and how it influences your perception as a customer. It also tells the hospital what they need to work on. So the next time they're doing these evaluations, they don't get the same grades and they do a lot better. Yeah? Questions? How are we feeling? Right. I believe in all of you. You can do this. Okay. So we talked about I could have sworn there are two slides for this dude. All right. Qualities. All right. So we talked a little bit about quality control as well, but there are different ways that we measure quality. One of them is called Dr. Edward Demings, and this is called the Deming Prize, and it was established in 1951 by the Japanese Union of Scientists, honoring engineers to honor Dr. W. Edwards Deming's contribution to quality management. So it's probably one of the most prestigious awards that any manufacturing process could look for. And it recognizes that companies have demonstrated excellence as applying the principle that he created into all of this as well. And it's something that is really, really important to do that. Give me a second. I really feel like there's something that I'm missing. There's one slide that was here that I could have sworn talked about this. Okay. Maybe not. I don't know. All right. So he worked a lot with American management as a management consultant. And he was the first to say that quality control should be a company-wide goal. It shouldn't be just a department. And part of why they wanted to honor him in Japan is because they adopted all of his ideas as well, which were largely ignored in the United States, and that made that made the process a lot simpler. Now, if I remember this correctly, again, I could have sworn there was another slide that was here, but if I remember this correctly, they had Toyota and other companies, they had Americans go train in Japan as a result of his work that the Americans ignored here. So then the Americans went back and they trained over there, and then they kind of like got it back, but not entirely, right? They had to go there first and learn it. So that's I kind of trying to remember the thing. All right, another really good award is the Malcolm Bridge National Quality Award, and it was created by the U.S. Congress in 1987. And it awards recognize American businesses that excel in various aspects of quality management. That includes leadership, strategic partnership, or strategic planning, and customer focus. And the idea is to encourage organizations to adopt the best practices and providing framework for evaluating their process and evaluating their businesses as well, or achieving their business excellence. Like we talked about the healthcare right? You can see that there are things that we need to work on there. So healthcare can, apply for this award as well to demonstrate high standards of patient care, operational efficiency, and leadership excellence. So the whole concept is these awards are nationally recognized and internationally recognized. And when you have something that's nationally recognized or internationally recognized, it's prestigious. It makes everyone in your circle recognize you as the leader in this industry. And you want to be there because the more of those you have, the better it is you become, the more credibility you have, right? So think about it as branding. Like think of, does any one of you follow any expert in whatever field on social media? Whether it's a doctor or maybe a finance person or anything, right? Maybe someone who is really good at card games, right? That they're just like really good at, I don't know, what do my nephews watch? Roblox, okay? Huh? Or maybe a dating coach, right? Right? To name a few, if anyone's listening, if you want to check out at The Word with Rita, you can feel free to do that. But yeah, so maybe someone like that. So how does that person become a dating coach? Let's say you have some qualifications, but then you have to prove that you have the quality. Now, in this case, the quality is managed by the results that of people. The more they see people following you, the more that there's engagement, the more that you're like, okay, people are sharing this video, let me share it as well. The more you also see that people are they're being awarded, or maybe they're doing more speaking events, or they're being called to do this or called to do that. The more that's out there, the more you're like, okay, well, I can trust this person, right? Okay, so that's part of quality control. Okay, that's part of those awards. What do they do? Not quality control, but they show quality. So if let's say I'm now being hosted by, I don't know, what's a big, give me a name of a big podcast that you guys watch. I don't know. Whatever, go for it. Yeah.
I don't watch it, but the only podcast I've heard of is the Joe Rogan Experience.
Right. Okay. So let's say now this dating coach is on Joe Rogan. Okay. Is that how much more credible do you feel? Oh, so and so is awarding their confidence to this person. And if they're awarding their confidence to this person, then they must be credible. Does that make sense? So here, this is how it works as well. When you have these awards in the process system or anywhere like that, like, oh, okay, well, it has to be an excellent place because it was awarded this vote of confidence based on this society. And the better the society is, the more you're like, okay, well, this is good. Make sense? Questions? Thoughts? Ideas? Click on that. All right. All right, so now let's put quality first, and we're going to continue with that. So total quality management is the TQM, and it's a comprehensive management approach that seeks to improve quality and performance to meet customer expectations. So the TQM emphasizes that quality is the responsibility of everyone in the organization, from top management to the frontline workers. Everyone is in charge of quality. Does that make sense? So everyone has to be a part of it. Now, this approach, what it does, it integrates quality management into every business process, such as product design, customer service, and production. So for example, a company might use the TQM principles to implement regular feedbacks, right? And to interact with the customers so that you're finding out, are the customer service people doing their job? Do people feel heard? Do people feel seen? Is there something that they're missing? And so you're implementing regular feedback loops with customers. So that would be a way to make sure that every part of the process is being met. You can reevaluate what the workers are doing. They can also have an input and a voice. And by doing that, you allow at every stage to feel like, oh, okay, well, I don't feel like the manager listens to me. Or maybe you are doing in-class evaluations for your teachers, right? So every semester, they give you this survey that you kind of have to fill out. And you can either go back and say, oh, my professor was great, or you can say my professor wasn't great. And so then you're telling the upper management what's going on in the middleman. Make sense? Okay. Other ideas would be Six Sigma, and it is a very big project management approach. And so it's highly structured to approach to quality management that focuses on reducing defects and variability in the process. So you're kind of making sure that everything runs as it should, and there's a replicable process as you're doing it. And so it uses a set of statistical tools to analyze production process and identify scores of defect. So Six Sigma aims to achieve level of quality where there are no more than 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Okay, so essentially you're reducing this down to as close to zero as possible, humanly possible. Okay. So you're designing products that not only have fewer defects, but also satisfy the customer needs. So you're defining, you're measuring, you're analyzing, you're improving, and you're controlling that movement, which is a step-by-step methodology for problem solving and process improvement. So for example, let's say you have a financial service firm that uses this Six Sigma to streamline its loan approval process. What you're doing is you are reducing the errors, and you are improving the turnaround for the customers. That's the whole point of it. You're going through this process to see where can people falter, where can we provide the support, and by doing so, we reduce it as much as possible so that we can make it up and get it up and running. See, I knew there was another slide on Demings. See, it mixed them up. Okay. So we talked about Demings a few minutes ago. Let's see, what else do I have on him? The iOS, huh? Steroids? Here? This one?
So another T2M on steroids.
Oh, TQM on steroids. So it just takes Six Sigma takes TQM to a whole other level. So essentially you have the quality control, you're using it as best as possible, and then TQM is just a whole other level. Six Sigma is just insane amount of it. I didn't make the slides, guys. The book publishers made the slides. Okay. So we talked a little bit about Demings and about the other awards. Okay. So the iOS standards, it provides an international recognized guideline for quality management and environmental process. And so you have the iOS 9000, and that focuses on quality management systems and ensures that organizations consistently provide products that meet the customer and regulatory requirements. So you're essentially just, what is the international standard for all of this? Okay, so you're not just looking for it on a national level, right? If you're looking to ship internationally, you also have to make sure that you meet the international standards, but you also go beyond it, which is where quality has like a big deal to it as well, and credibility. So for example, if you want a product that's made in, let's say you manufacture a chocolate in the Middle East, what's written on the chocolate bar, or it goes to Europe, is different than what would be written on it in the US. So let's say you actually want to manufacture and you want to ship to the US. Well, you have to meet those standards and you have to meet those requirements in order to be able to sell here. If you notice a lot of products, sometimes you'll find that they have both French and English that are American products, but you still on the label find French and English, or any Canadian product is French and English. Part of the reason why is because if they're shipping to Canada, then they have to have the French. legally they cannot produce a product and sell it in Canada without having the French description on the label. So a lot of times, if you look at your shampoo bottles, which generally are manufactured for the entire continent of North America, you'll find that if they're sold in the US and Canada, they'll also have a French version right underneath, right? Or maybe it's an international standard as well. It's an international language. Does that make sense? Okay, so you want to be able to meet the standards. So International Standard Organization does that. And another thing, International Standard Organization 14,000 emphasizes environmental management, and it helps companies reduce their environmental footprint through sustainable process. So for example, a manufacturing company certified under the International Standard Organization 9000 would have rigorous quality control in place and ensures that each product meets high standards. But if it's also certified by iOS 14,000, you're also looking or certifying that the company not only has really good quality in terms of the product that it's producing, but you're also certifying that it is environmentally friendly in the process. Okay, so this is what these things mean. You're looking for, if you're in the manufacturing process, you are looking for these to kind of tick off so that you're like you enter into this international marketplace and it's good. It's kind of like an author winning a prestigious award, okay? Or an author getting their books published in different places. It gives credibility to people. Make sense? Yeah?
So where would you find the ISO registered? Would it be on the website?
I want to say there should be listings of them somewhere, but I don't think it's necessarily under the website itself. So sometimes these, normally, if you're looking at a manufacturing process, it's not a B2C. So it's not business to customer, it's usually B2B. If it's B2B, then they know what certification to look for as they're buying from these people. Okay, so you have iOS. Okay. And so here, like this is the website for sorry, not iOS, what do I keep saying? ISO's standards, you can kind of see, you could probably find a list here somewhere, okay? It's a prestigious thing, so typically, it's like saying, sometimes people like advertise it. So let's say you're a woman-owned business in the United States, you get certified by a certain organization and you'll post that on your website. Where like, so you might find it on the website, depending on the manufacturing company, depending on who they're marketing to, depending on, so sometimes they'll email it through a list. Sometimes they'll tell their competitors, okay, or in their brochures, this is who we partner with, this is the certifications we have, so that entice people to actually buy into it, right? Very much like when you post on the website, oh, I'm a woman-owned business, or I'm a minority business, or so forth. And the idea is sometimes you apply for certain jobs or grants or competitions, and you list that there to make sure you get the job as well, or you get something that's like, oh, okay, no, this is a business who's recognized. Make sense? But usually you'll be able to find, this is your application. Okay, we're not gonna apply for it. See. So you can look at, usually you'll be able to find things on the websites. I'm assuming there should be a directory somewhere out here, but haven't looked for any, to be honest. I hope that answers the question, but it's, I don't necessarily know, but I'm assuming that's what happens. And they post them on their website, or they post them in their brochures and things like that.
So it's like a lot of companies go for this ISO, or is it just like more out of the way for quality?
They do if they want to be recognized internationally as something that is at good quality. So they actually go out of their way to do this. It's like getting the customer, the restaurant grades, but for business to business, okay? I know a friend in Lebanon that did one of these for a company, and it was one of the bigger ones. I don't remember which one it was, but they went they fixed everything over the course of the year so that they can actually get the certification so that they can go and sell in Italy and in other places. So it makes it very prestigious, and it makes it very much better for you as a company to be able to do this. Mhm. So lean manufacturing is a methodology focused on eliminating wastes within the production process, so increasing efficiency and value for the customer. So waste in this context refers to a process or resources that does not directly add value to the finished process. Sorry. So you're looking at things like excess inventory, time delays, or overproduction. These are not necessary and you're wasting resources there. So the better or the more lean your manufacturing process, the more streamlined it becomes. So the idea is continuous assessment of the production process so that you're able to define the things that falter so that you can do better next time. Okay, and it's a continuous process. You don't just leave it by itself. You are constantly checking up on it. There's constantly a feedback loop. That doesn't mean like you sit there, right, micromanage every single person, but there is a process that says, okay, well, our evaluation's coming up in 3 months. We do this, or every month we go through the data and see what happened and so forth. So there are people in charge of actually going through this data and filtering out through it. So for example, a manufacturer might rearrange its assembly line to reduce the time workers spend moving between tasks, and then streamlining the process, the workflow process as they're doing that. Okay, so by moving the product somewhere else or by moving certain things, or like they realize that, oh, well, what's happening is that employees are getting tired and they're wasting time going from one station to another. Maybe the stations are across the room and it doesn't seem like it's a lot because they're right there parallel to each other, but they're wasting a lot of time. So maybe a good hour is spent there. Maybe we can rearrange things so that it works better. And so that would be lean manufacturing. You're making it more lean. So Toyota actually played a very big role in the lean manufacturing, particularly through the development of the Toyota Production System, the TPS. And the TPS emphasizes principles like Kaizen, or Kaizen, which is a continuous improvement, and Jidoka, which is automation with a human touch. So Kaizen encouraged its workers at all levels to suggest improvement to the process, and it created a culture of constant renovation. And so you're constantly innovating, you're constantly getting better because people are involved in the process. And this approach, it was replicated not just in the car industry, but it actually moved to others as well. It includes software engineering, it includes healthcare, where streamlining the process can significantly enhance the service delay and customer satisfaction. So what you're looking is they really just took the lean process philosophy and they applied it elsewhere as well, so that they're just streamlining every part of the process, not just one certain aspect. The next thing that we have is this just-in-time production, and it's a key component of this lean manufacturing that focuses on minimizing inventory and delivering material precisely when they are needed in the production process. So it costs money to store things, and then things go bad. So you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to understand your process so much that you know exactly when it needs to be delivered. I think Amazon does this thing where they automatically renew whatever, like let's say you buy dog food and you buy this dog food, it'll automatically renew. They know that it runs out in about 2 months, so they'll send you a new shipment. Does that make sense? Okay, that's them saying, okay, well, you don't have to keep going out and buying it. And so they're making the process a lot smoother for you so that you don't have to worry about it. It makes sense? Okay. So this strategy, what it does is that reduces storage costs and waste, but requires a highly efficient and reliable supply chain. So you can depend on your supply chain. If you can't depend on your supply chain, then you probably should not be doing this. Computer manufacturers use this to ensure that components like processors and memory chips arrive to the factory just when they are needed in the assembly. So they don't just sit there and store them. They get them there exactly when they are needed in the process, wherever they are in the process. The downfall to this is potential production delays if a supplier does not deliver on time. So you're depending on someone else. Yeah. And then the last thing we're going to look at today is the computer-aided design. So CAD, or computer-aided manufacturing. So this is a CAM. When you're looking at aided design, you are using computer softwares to create, modify, and optimize design for products before they are manufactured. So CAD for engineering, for example, it enabled them to create these 2D and 3D models that allow them to visualize the products from various angles. Okay, so you're relying on technology, or you're leveraging technology in order to look at the final product before the final product is even done. Architects use this all the time. Engineers use this all the time. Before they build a bridge or a highway or whatever, they have to use AutoCAD or whatever the software they're using to be able to build accurately and to build with the right measurement. And that saves a lot of time, and it saves a lot of energy, and it saves a lot of time, money, in order to be able, because now you're producing something that you're sure of, and you can see where it faltered or where it might falter in that sense. And so this visualization, it helps in identifying potential issues in design. It helps manipulate the design digitally, which saves time and money by reducing the need for multiple physical prototypes, okay? And they use this in automotive industries a lot, aerospace industries, because there's a lot of complex parts and a lot of precision that needs to take place. We can kind of use something very similar in the manufacturing process, and it's called computer-aided manufacturing. And essentially what's happening is that you're taking a digital design created through CAD, and it uses them to control machinery and equipment in the manufacturing process. So softwares directly communicate with the machine as computer numerical tools, and then it instructs them on how to produce an actual product. Kind of think of 3D printers. Okay, the computer software is communicating with the 3D printer, and the 3D printer is making that product on its own. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that would be computer-aided manufacturing. It also, when you send something to print on a mug or whatever the case is, you can also use the same softwares. So by automating the manufacturing process, the CAM reduces the likelihood of human error. It ensures that it can be used to manage cutting, drilling, and assembly process. And the entire idea is really, people make mistakes. But if you program something to run, machines make a lot less of a mistake if you know how they're designed and how well they work. You need human touch 1000%, but it's not as laborious, and it's not as error, it doesn't have as much error for that. And it really makes the person's life a lot easier, the one that's actually running the process. And then finally, you have the integration of the system. And what you're doing is you create a seamless design to production workflow. So you're taking the design and you're putting it in the production. And that's the point of all of this, is to take something and just be able to create. This is why right now we have a lot more products than they did maybe 200 years ago or 300 years ago, because we've been able to manage and leverage technology to produce things a lot faster in a lot of better way, while maintaining, for the most part, a good life for the person who's actually doing the job, right? So we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs last time. Leveraging technology allows us to move through the process where now people are worried, they're concerned about healthcare. Let's say you're getting paid their healthcare or their retirement, or what if their work is fulfilling or not fulfilling, interesting or not to them. Okay, why? Because we're able to use technology to produce things faster, to sell them in a better way, where people are not necessarily, for the most part, at least in America, they're not necessarily worried about what they're going to eat. Right? But they are worried about the jobs and working through them and so forth. Does that make sense? So it kind of moved them through the hierarchy of needs. And so that's kind of the point of all of this. And so here what we're doing is the integration enables rapid prototyping, which means companies can bring new products to market faster by testing and refining their designs efficiently. Cool. Any questions, thoughts, ideas on this chapter? No, everyone's good. Is anyone interested now in manufacturing? No interest? Okay. It's a pretty cool process. Like, it's complex. It's not as easy as people think. It's not just moving boxes around. There's a lot of component, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of logistics that go into it, and that's actually pretty cool. All right, so that's it for this one chapter. And